Here's the thing that most people aren't understanding is that as far as the bullish case can go, we've done everything perfectly so far. You know, we have a lot of people saying that this bit of price action here is low time frame price action inside of this broader downtrend. And I think that they're correct. But we were talking about this in recent videos. Those of you that are subscribing are going to be very familiar with this. I think that this is going to turn into the bigger trend and set us above 70K, above 80K, and so on. And I think what everybody's missing when they say that, you know, this still hasn't kind of broken any of the major macro highs here is that so far for the bulls, every single step has gone perfectly. And that's really the missing piece that nobody's talking about, right? Everyone talks about how this is kind of low time frame structure that looks really good. Everyone knows that. There's no discussion there. But where there is a discussion is that this is not legitimate and the high time frame can still take over and send us down. What you need to understand if you're thinking that way is that so far, the bulls have pulled off every single move correctly. And I'm going to articulate that for you here in the next couple of minutes. You see, what Bitcoin has ended up doing here is it's punched in a low, followed by a low equal to over here, which prints a sort of inverse head and shoulders. We've punched in another low, and with that, higher highs at the same time. And across the board, while we've been doing all of that, we've been breaking resistance levels left, right, and center. Take a look at this resistance level right here, or this resistance level right here, or this tiny resistance level right here. And of course, the biggest one at 67K, we've broken that too. And we're now kind of trying to attack it again. This is more like 68. But we've done very, very well as far as breaking these support, these resistance levels, and that's what I think is so significant for this market, and that's why I went ahead and actually drew this chart to show a little sneak peek of what the world might look like if things go well. And I wanna bring this on screen for a second here before we, this is a very different intro to normal videos, but before we dive into what we usually talk about, Ansem here is posting about how are these people on crack, because you get a lot of people saying that we haven't, you know, like I said, made those macro highs, and obviously Ansem's kind of punching in those more micro time frame moves. And here's Main's response. You guys might not know who these people are, but that's completely fine, or you might know them very well. The interesting thing is the information here. Main is saying that the argument is that the current trend change is still occurring within a larger down leg of price, right? So this current trend change that we're in right now, where, you know, we've been doing very well for the last weeks, this is still happening inside of this. That's what Main is basically clarifying. An internal market structure shift. It's a valid way to view structure. However, if you're wrong and the high time frame trend is about to change, you will be late to the party. He's saying that if you're thinking, you know, that we haven't really broken these macro highs, so let's not pay attention to this one yet, well then if the market does actually move, you're probably entering up here rather than down here, for example. And that's fine, right? There's no problem with being late to the party. We're not worried about stuff like that. We're more worried about actually, you know, making sure we don't lose our money. That's going to be the higher priority, I think, in most cases. But what he goes on to say next is that the opposite is also true. If you view price as already in an uptrend, there's a chance that you're bullish into a high time frame lower high. But here's my response, and I think this is, you know, kind of very similar to what we were talking about just now here on this YouTube video, is that this line of thought makes sense, but it fails to acknowledge that the people who are on the other side, who are bears, they're increasingly at worse odds of being correct. Their chances of being correct are going down because that resistance zone, this resistance zone that everybody and their grandmother is talking about, if I just draw this out for you guys again, has been tested so many times now that if you draw it like a parallel channel, as I showed you with one of the tweets yesterday, you can actually now, I mean, this is a different chart. Gemini wick down very, very low. But you can actually see that we conclusively got above this range and we've backtested it for support now. And we haven't matured with that move yet. And that's what we're going to be focusing on for the rest of this YouTube video. But what we've done so far is broken out and come back down to backtest it and held strong. So again, this is my point, is that so far, everything could not have gone better. Everything is going 100% perfectly if you're a bull, and that means that if you're a bear, your chances of being correct are going down. I'm not singing excitement until at least $68,000. We're going to be talking about that in just a second. But so far, every single step has been perfect for bulls. Part of deciding between what's high time frame and low time frame is judging how likely the low time frame is to take control of the larger trend. Ladies and gents, if you want to get more content like this from me, follow me right here on Twitter. It's more shit posting, a little bit of politics and stuff like that. This one is super cool. They hate how easy it is for us to be happy. All it takes is a Bitcoin chart going up, a bit of Trump and RFK for a little bit of Maha action, Elon Musk launching and then landing rockets, and a little bit of GTA 6, ladies and gents. Smash up the likes for that. Nothing to do with me whatsoever, other than the Bitcoin chart, I guess. But that deserves a little bit of engagement. And while you are down there, definitely check out the links to the best platforms in the game. You can trade using these links below, and you're going to get a ton of free cash deposited into your account with each of these platforms linked on screen here. Don't use any of them if you're in a restricted region. But if you are allowed to, then definitely take advantage of these offers if you're interested. It's a ton of free cash, and you can withdraw any profits you make with it. But if we come back to the chart here and really start taking a kind of intimate look at what's happened so far, we have successfully gotten that bounce. I did actually enter a long trade literally just minutes before yesterday's live stream. So once again, a huge shout out to those of you that are subscribed to this YouTube channel. That position has gone very, very well. If you just want to go ahead and snoop my trading and go ahead and pause this video here so you can kind of read that, and then obviously there are some people that think this is a screenshot, so obviously you can't interact with a screenshot like that. This is at a little, I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's a 15% profit, $15,000. I've already realized a little bit of those gains. My stop loss is at break even, so it's impossible for me to lose money on this trade anymore, and you guys saw how that evolved in yesterday's live stream, which is absolutely sick. Obviously, I got my entry pretty much right here at this yellow line. Obviously, yes, the price did go down a little bit lower, but this varies depending on the exchange, right? I mean, Coinbase, for example, didn't go anywhere near as low. And so there's a lot of variation between exchanges here, but I definitely did buy pretty close to the bottom here. Here is my entry on the Coinbase chart. By comparison, the wick is a little bit smaller in terms of its extension outwards. So I'm super happy with that. Obviously, that was traded all on Bybit. It's the best platform in the game. You already know the deal. Apex is their decentralized sister exchange, so that's really cool. You keep full custody of all of your money, which is I think the coolest thing I've ever seen. And so, yeah, we've managed to get that little bounce here, which is kind of what we were expecting. It's definitely what I was expecting. That's why I made a trade for it. And so far the follow through has been good. I like the fact that we haven't kind of returned back down to these levels. I like the fact that we've had, one little pullback. We're in the middle of another pullback right now. And I think that Bitcoin's holding pretty well. Now, the key thing to do, and really where the celebrations start to become justified, in my opinion, is going to be getting above this yellow line right here at 68K. And you can see we're already struggling at it right now, but the fact that we've even gotten here, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And so I think that, if Bitcoin does need to take, a minute to cool down, maybe trade sideways, maybe, come down and capture some support a little bit lower, whatever the case may be, it looks like it shouldn't be too hard for Bitcoin to break this high. And that's going to be a really big deal, because that's then going to mean that, again, this is going to vary from exchange to exchange, but from low to high, it's going to mean that we're moving, above more than 5% above the bottom that we set, which is going to be a nice indication that this is actually a real low that we've punched in. And then in terms of invalidating, it's now super clear, right? I mean, if we drop below this wick right here, if we drop anywhere below 65K, it's over, and we're going down to 64 or much lower, in my opinion, 63, 61. I think 61 would be on the cards if we lose 65, but there are some support levels in between. So I think that's going to be our invalidation, or, just this little line over here, right? Because the original support level that I outlined for you guys was this green box that stretches between 66.5 to 67. But what I said, and I said this very, very clearly, both on the live stream and in video, this is so important, and this is why you come to this YouTube channel, as opposed to, being clueless in these markets, is that we were also expecting the deviation into this yellow box. And that's why I drew this yellow box as a sort of reserve zone for Bitcoin, right? Like I'm expecting a bounce. Here's the thing. This is the really, really important thing. And this is where you get your notebook out if you like to take notes, ladies and gents. I told you guys that I was expecting a bounce in this green box, but Bitcoin does love to pull off deviation. So I'm going to tolerate anything as low as this yellow box. And that's why I set my entry at the very bottom of the yellow box, because I expected that even if we do get a bounce off the green box, we're probably going to come down to the bottom of the yellow box for a quick little liquidity grab. It's very normal for Bitcoin because basically what happens here is that everybody who went long up here gets stopped out of their positions, and everybody who goes short up here, down here, gets stopped out of their positions here. So it's just maximum pain in the market, which the market always does, right? I mean, up here, a lot of longs trapped in, they get liquidated down here. A lot of shorts enter, they're liquidated up here. You know what I mean? Standard ebbs and flows of the market, nothing crazy. And so, come into a channel like this, we're able to tell you about things like these kind of deviations. And, you only really kind of expect these things if you're, staying attuned with the market, because different things are relevant at different points of time. And if you've got the experience, and obviously, combined, my team is well over 10, 15 years, more than 15 years experience in crypto now, which I think is pretty good. Considering that we're actually traders, we're not like meme coin gamblers or, just affiliate marketing gurus, who are one-trick ponies. We're actually trading in these markets. So that's why, no surprise you're getting these kind of insights. If you do find this stuff valuable, you know exactly what to do, ladies and gents. And so to follow through here, like I said, 68K is going to be that key level to break. I think that the other key level is going to be this prior high. I'm more interested in breaking this prior high. If we break this prior high, I think it's going to be an even bigger deal than 68K. And it's also so close to the top that I just think Bitcoin's just going to get straight up to $72,000 from that point. So I think we're pretty much done here, ladies and gents. We've just got to see how this goes. Obviously, like in all videos, I don't actually think that this is a Bitcoin discussion. I think that this is more of a traditional finance discussion. But before we do get there, I do want to show you Bitcoin's dominance. It is moving really, really well. It is now back up to the highs that it established just a couple of days ago. And it could be well on its way to continuing. Ethereum continues to die at the hands of Bitcoin, and Solana continues to thrive in any market condition, which is obviously fantastic. We're always happy to see a happy Solana. But yeah, I think very telling indeed, the fact that Bitcoin's dominance continues to rise while Ethereum continues to struggle pretty much as a broader representation of weakness for the altcoin market. And so that's something I'm going to be kind of keeping an eye on. All right, so ladies and gents, let's move on. Sorry, just getting a little bit distracted there with some trade details, but let's move on and talk a little bit about traditional finance. S&P 500 has recovered a little bit from its dip. There's really not a whole lot that's happened today, so it's not moving too crazy. It has moved up a little bit, and I think that's why we're seeing some strength on Bitcoin. More importantly, the dollar has moved down a little bit, and that's mainly why I think we've seen strength for Bitcoin today. We were expecting a pullback for the dollar yesterday. We were quite vocal about that. It reached the top of the range, so obviously this is kind of where we expect the pullback. The pullback is happening now. The dollar is very hard to analyze, right? I mean, I got no idea where this thing is going to stop dropping. It could stop right here and then continue going up. It might not stop until down here, or it might just come back down to the bottom of the range. It's so hard to say. Different things happen at different times, but at least the good thing is that the dollar generally just moves in one direction, right? It doesn't really it doesn't really do anything like this, right? Where you kind of move up and then you consolidate and then you move up again and then, kind of falling wedge, and that doesn't happen. Usually for the dollar, it's just straight up really aggressively. You know what I mean? And I think that just makes it a little bit easier to look at this chart. So if this is a real move down, it's probably going to be pretty intense, pretty quick. If it's a pullback, which right now it looks more like a pullback, then, it's going to come down to support and then probably continue on very aggressively. And that would probably hurt Bitcoin quite a bit. Actually saying that, lately the dollar has been going up and Bitcoin has been very strong. So it might not be the case. It might not be that obvious, actually. So that's going to be remaining to be seen. There's a couple more things I want to talk to you about with Bitcoin here, but let's take a look at some interesting things going on in the market right now. We've got an old wallet from 2011 moving $10 million worth of Bitcoin, hodling from $16 to $67,000, which is absolutely fantastic. We're going to see a little bit of old addresses waking up, but this is nothing concerning to me at all. And $10 million is not even a large amount to be selling in this market at this stage, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not a big amount anymore. Bitcoin Golden Cross approaching $100,000 coming sooner than you think. Obviously, golden crosses are going to be representations of momentum shifting upwards, right? Short-term momentum starts to supersede long-term momentum, starts to take precedent over long-term momentum, and so that's going to be an indication that potentially this thing really, really pumps higher. Do I agree? Yeah, 100%. I think that that's exactly what we're looking at right now. I think that that's so likely to happen. these golden crosses, it's no surprise to me whatsoever that we're starting to produce some of them now. Obviously, we did have the death cross before, but it didn't really result in anything. The death crosses are not as reliable as golden crosses in this market, in my experience. And so it's very, very nice indeed to see this golden cross. It's just another sign. This is one of those signs that kind of happens in the background. There's no fireworks. There's nothing that happens immediately afterwards or before. It's super, it's just another box that gets checked. You know, like overall, when you've been trending up for 2-3 years and you look back, you're going to be like, all right, there were some really obvious signs that suggested that we're going to be trending up. And one of those signs was that we got a golden cross on, you know, whatever, the end of October 2024. You know, and it's just one of those things that you wouldn't necessarily base, you know, a particular trade off, but you might base your thesis off it. You know, you might anchor yourself with things like this, and that's what I think it's much more useful for. It's just another look. It's another box that gets checked, telling us that we are very bullish. And at this stage, I don't think that anything is going to make this not happen. I think it's too late now. I think the golden cross is definitely going to happen. It might even happen in the next few days. So we'll see how long that takes to happen. Here's an interesting one. Bitcoin ETFs are buying far more Bitcoin than the mining supply that's being released, and it's not even close to past 12 days. This is super, super interesting. Looking at some of those inflows here for IBIT. Here we go. We got Ghost here again for IBIT right here. When supply shock, when sellers run out of coin. This is what we've been talking about, right? Obviously, eventually the sellers that are, you know, constantly suppressing this market and holding it down, they are going to exit, or not that they're going to exit, but they're going to run out of Bitcoins to sell. And at that stage, I think we're going to be seeing, you know, quite a serious supply shock with all of that residual demand still staying. Now, obviously, we need to keep in mind that these ETFs are not buying on the open market on Binance, Bybit, Blowfin, where we're trading. They're using their own kind of portals and stuff like that. So they're not tapped into the exact same supply as us, but you know, I think that obviously, you know, if there is a supply shock, you're going to feel that across the industry. It's not just going to be on, you know, retail exchanges. Here's another interesting one. It's the same kind of thing we spoke about before from Rect Capital. Bitcoin has already produced a wick below the channel top, and has returned above it, holding it as support. So it's exactly what we were talking about. As long as Bitcoin stays above 66.2 until the new weekly close, this will be confirmed as a successful retest. This is actually something I haven't said before. I was talking to you about, you know, proving that this is a real bounce by rising above 68 or the prior high, and I still fully stand by those two statements. But the other thing that I forgot to say, which Rect Capital completely correctly pointed out, is that if we do just stay above these levels for this weekly close, that's going to give a lot of confidence to market participants that this retracement has successfully been recovered. You know, we've successfully recovered from this drop, and you know, we're now forming something a little bit more like a bullish hammer, which bullish hammers are so consistently reliable for continuing up, in my experience. I mean, there are a ton of examples you can find on the contrary, but there are, I think, even more examples that you can find proving that bullish hammers, you know, typically immediately result in more upside. So especially in an environment like this one, I just think this one's poised to do really, really well. So that weekly close is actually going to be really, really important. It's going to become the new weekly level of interest, and it's also going to mean that we're closing a weekly candle above resistance, which I think is really important. Now, we did a lot of this stuff last time, so, you know, obviously, rightfully, I think there are a lot of people that are very skeptical about this market, but I think we've already covered that quite well in today's video by simply pointing out that we have tested this resistance level a lot. I don't want to say too many times or far too many times, which is actually what I was going to say. I don't want to say that because it's hard to say when it's too many times, but we've clearly tested it a lot, and I don't think that there's going to be much more, sorry about that, I don't think there's going to be much more, you know, resistance that this, you know, kind of parallel channel, if I just draw it for you again, just in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, I don't think there's much more resistance that this channel can really offer us. I mean, look at it, drawn this way, we're doing so well. We're doing so, do you know what I mean? There's different ways to draw it, and they're going to tell you slightly different pictures, but you know, I think we're doing so well. I think we're doing so well. And again, it's just, you know, from the perspective of the bears, the only thing you have left if you're a bear is that we haven't quite completely broken these macro highs. Okay, that could be days away, but okay, we haven't quite completely done that. That's number one. And number two, we're still range bound, right? Those are the only two arguments that bears have, and I think they're valid arguments. But the point is that if I was a bear right now, I would be feeling a hell of a lot more uncertain about my position being a bear right now. Like I would not enjoy seeing the bulls pull off every single move perfectly, including their retracements. I mean, this retracement was spectacular. It was such a big deal. It penetrated deep. It was recovered quickly. And we're back above some of our key resistance. We're back above 67K for fuck's sakes, right? I mean, that's a big deal. We're up about $2,500, $3,000, depending on which chart you're looking at this from. And all of that happened in a day, and it happened at such a critical price level. Just 2 weeks before the election. We're like 10 days now or something, right? There are a lot of factors that are just kind of crazy right now. And I don't think that I would feel as comfortable being a bear right now with all of that in mind, right? And ultimately, look, it doesn't matter, right? I got my Bitcoin position from last year. That's still open. I'm in over 2,000% profit. I got my Trump position. That's also open. I got over 1,000% profit there. I got my current Bitcoin position also in a tiny 15% profit, making me 15 grand. And that stop loss is at break even. So there's no losing here when you've got your stop loss at break even. You get a lot of objectivity back, and you really stop caring about what happens in the trade, and it's just free. You get paid from that point onwards. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. Stop loss management is so important. It's something that a lot of people don't really learn, but obviously if you want to get inside and learn a little bit about kind of what we've been able to offer people, then you can reach out for this one-to-one a 12-week program. It is a very, very intense, expensive investment, but we have seen mind-blowing results. And you're talking about the culmination of kind of 7 years in this market, plus the rest of what my team has to offer, and a highly, highly refined offer at that. I think it's quite spectacular. So if you want to kind of get yourself inside and really, really turn things around or increase that upward trajectory, then yeah, this is an offer that you might want to consider. There are no guarantees, obviously. You can join this and pay and then lose all your money. That has never happened, but it can happen, and I'm sure it will happen at some point. Just statistics. That's just how it works. But it's there if you want to reach out. It's linked right there. And with that, I'm going to be heading off for this one. So I hope you have enjoyed this one. Check out those links for huge trading bonuses when you start trading using these links. And like I said, Blowfin's going to be the most aggressive one in terms of bonuses, just giving you a ton of free cash that you can run away with and do whatever the hell you like with. And if you make any profits with that money, you can withdraw it too. Super, super cool. Check them out if you're not in a restricted region. And while you are down here, do me a favor and smash up those likes, double check that you're subscribed and all that good stuff. And I'll continue to give you updates on Bitcoin here around the clock. I think the first key thing to do is going to be seeing, do we sweep this low? Then we're probably going a little bit lower back into support, or do we sweep this high? And if that's the case, then the next resistance level is going to be mid 69s up to low 70s. All right, ladies and gents, thank you all very much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.